I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. A long-awaited study on clergy sex abuse is out. We'll have the details and analysis. Plus, what is the Brooklyn Diocese doing to keep kids safe? We'll show you.
We're protecting children and adults by allowing the information to be shared.
And celebrating Haitian heritage in this city of immigrants.
I'm proud of the Haitian flag and I'm proud of the Haitian people. I'm always happy to be part of whatever is going on in our community.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Just 2 days after the Vatican issued a letter giving Roman Catholic bishops worldwide a year to prepare guidelines on how to deal with the problem of child sexual abuse by priests, today, New York's John Jay College for Criminal Justice released the second of 2 studies tackling the issue of clergy sex abuse in the United States head on. The 300-page report is being widely regarded as a landmark research on the subject of child sexual abuse in general. But with no other institution or organization undertaking this level of scrutiny or analysis on the problem of abuse, the study commissioned by the American Catholic Church is a groundbreaking attempt to recognize the causes of abuse and identify ways to better protect children. Well, joining me now to talk about the report and its findings is Monsignor Kieran Harrington, the Vicar of Communications for the Brooklyn Diocese. Monsignor, thanks for coming in and joining us here.
Good to be with you, Matt.
Appreciate it very much. What was your initial reaction when you saw this report?
Well, the first takeaway that I have is that this was historical. These cases are really historical cases, really that stretch from 1960 to 1970 with a very, very steep drop-off in 1985. So you see a classic bell curve shape here. And one of the things that seems to me is that's very significant is that that drop-off coincides with an increased societal awareness of child sexual abuse. The key takeaway then of the report is that, in my view, is that we need to maintain vigilance in making sure that children have a safe environment.
Sure. Now, a lot of people might say, you mentioned that steep drop-off after 1985, and a lot of people might say, well, kids who were that age maybe have not reached an age where they might feel comfortable coming forward with bringing allegations or things like that, maybe why we're still hearing about allegations from decades before. What is your response to that sort of questioning or criticism?
Well, I mean, if you consider what the John Jay study found, prior to 2002, there were about 800 victims that had come forward in the entire church. So about 800 victims had presented themselves prior to 2002. Subsequent to 2002, you're dealing with almost 11,000 victims that covered a very long period of history in the life of the church. Our sense is that, and certainly the sense of the district attorney, who we have a very close relationship with, and because we turn over all allegations, every single allegation of abuse to the district attorney is turned immediately over to them, is that cases are being reported in a very, very timely fashion. Part of the reason for that is because there is a heightened awareness and sensitivity, not simply on the part of adults to ensure that they are being vigilant and making sure a safe environment exists for children, but that adults are now speaking with children much more openly about circumstances that might put them in jeopardy or harm.
Sure. Now, a couple of the I guess, alleged causes of clergy sex abuse that have been harped on for years by people from all different sorts of walks of life. I guess if you want to divide it up this way from the left and the right. Celibacy, homosexuality, those things were kind of squashed by this report in a way. They're saying that homosexuality doesn't in and of itself lead a priest or an ordained person to abuse a child, and neither does priestly celibacy. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think that one of certainly the report indicated that the sexual permissiveness of the 1960s and 70s created a sort of cultural environment where there was a lot of deviant behavior that was sort of permitted. So I think that is what's most significant, right? So there was a cultural shift that took place, and so one can absolutely see a definitive starting point to this crisis and a definitive conclusion to this crisis. That's not to say that children, or that there will never be a child who's hurt again. But that certainly we can't say that. But what we can say is that the scope of this problem has certainly been mitigated. What's the reason for this? Is it attributed to celibacy? The John Jay report very clearly identifies that when you consider celibacy in light of other professions and other states of life, married life, incidences of abuse are not statistically higher. In fact, they're lower amongst clergy than the other parts of society. So while the Catholic Church has been aggregated all this information, and we're dealing with a very large institution, the church is a very large institutionally in nature. When you take a look at that, we've aggregated it so it's much more easy to point to the church as examples of where this has occurred. But clearly, the John Jay study has found out that these problems have occurred throughout the broader society.
Right.
It's a societal problem, in other words.
Sure, sure. And you were talking about the kind of cultural shift in the 60s and 70s as being attributed to being a part of the cause of the problem. Is it, a lot of people might find that a little bit, I don't know, maybe not feasible for a priest to have been so affected by these outside forces in that sort of cultural shift that you were talking about.
That's why the John Jay study just reports to increases in different elements of deviant behavior, socially unacceptable behavior. So the John Jay study statistic, and it's really important to understand this, John Jay was chosen precisely because it had no relationship with the Catholic Church prior to doing this study. They're an independent city university. This might have been paid for by the National Review Board, but in fact, this is the bishops didn't guide the creation of this document. It was the John Jay study, a secular institution, that kind of attributed the social changes of the 60s and 70s as part of what created this epidemic.
Important to note, and also important to note, I think, of what is taking place now, as you've said earlier, to create and sort of foster safe environments for kids in the church.
And I think that this has been the work again of the church, beginning really in 1985 when awareness of this issue became very, very clear to the church. Bishops had taken steps to kind of to make sure that one's exposure to harm was mitigated. And certainly in 2002, where there was very vigorous effort throughout the entire church, particularly here in the Diocese of Brooklyn, with institution of Virtus, a training program for every single employee or volunteer working in the church, background checks for every single employee, volunteer of the church, 37,000 people going through our Virtus program. And then in 2004, beginning with a training of every single child who is in a Catholic institution working, whether in a Catholic school, CCD program, CYO, 65,000 kids a year being brought and trained in child lawyers, ways in which to protect themselves, ways in which to feel comfortable in addressing this question of child sexual abuse.
Quickly here, do you think that this report will sort of quell criticism that the church has not done enough to deal with this problem in a significant way?
Listen, this is a massive problem, a social problem. It's something which we have to be very humble in approaching. I mean, this is not a moment of triumph for us, right? I don't think that this is a moment where we would say that we've done everything we can possibly do. We're always open to learning more and ways in which we can be continuously to be vigilant to ensure to protect children. So we don't see this as the definitive moment in the life of the church that nothing more can be done. We always recognize that there is much more that we need to be on guard to protect children against. And so we're always looking for ways in which we can make sure that those who are in our care are safe and secure.
Great. Monsignor Harrington, thank you so much for
being
here.
Matt.
Really appreciate it. Thanks. Well, stay tuned. There is much more Currents coming up straight ahead. Stay tuned. When we return, we'll take a look at what the Brooklyn Diocese is doing to create a safe environment for kids.
Abusers groom children, and if the people who take the course see someone is trying to groom a child, then they're aware, and that healthy suspicion gives them the opportunity to say something.
Welcome back. Well, one of the major findings of today's John Jay College study on clergy sex abuse is that the Catholic Church appears well on its way to becoming a safer place for children. Now, according to the study, the majority of abuse cases making headlines in the media today occurred decades ago, with only 7 credible accusations made against diocesan priests in 2010. Now, that means a significant decline in the abuse of minors by Catholic clergy in recent years. The study also shows that there is no psychological profile of a potential abuser to watch out for. So the best way to protect children is to deny abusers any opportunities to abuse by creating safe environments. Well, since 2002, the Diocese of Brooklyn, along with dioceses around the country, have been doing just that by facilitating Virtus training sessions. They're a popular safe environment training program for child protection. All clergy, all employees, and all volunteers who work with children must take Virtus training. We sent our cameras to a Virtus session last night where facilitators worked to educate attendees on how to recognize and prevent the sexual abuse of children.
It's your job now, congratulations, to be a protector of children by being aware.
Virtus is the course that the diocese gives to people who are volunteering or working with children to educate them as far as what is child sexual abuse and how to combat it. Everyone is required to attend one session.
Some of them come in with a sense of arrogance, with a sense of an animosity towards the whole idea of having to sit through. They think that we're showing them this video and bringing them to this session because they may be a child abuser. They're not aware of the fact that we're protecting children and adults by allowing the information to be shared.
There are two videos. The first one educates people on what child sexual abuse is. The second part gives them skills on how to prevent it.
In the video, we meet with these two predators who have been convicted of their crimes for children as part of their punishment to tell their stories about how they groom and how long they have and things that they were able to get away with because people were unaware.
Abusers groom children, and if the people who take the course see these groomings happen, see someone is trying to groom a child, then they're aware, and that healthy suspicion gives them the opportunity to say something.
What are some of the warning signs of the child abuse that you can remember from the second part of the video? We have a list in our sessions that we ask sort of, what is your reaction to this video? And some people will say, they'll tell you how they feel. And there's very rarely a person who doesn't become part of the discussion because it is such a deep subject topic that it's very hurtful to some people. When they leave, I have not had, and this is my 5th year of being a facilitator, I have never had anyone still feel that it was not worth their time. If you're ever alone in a classroom with a child, the door must be open. You must sit up near the doorway so that anyone who comes in can see exactly what's going on.
It's a normal reaction to be a little afraid of dealing with children after going through the sessions.
The video explains how we can protect ourselves as adults as well as the children. And then it comes to the fact that it's okay to be around children, just not in a secluded area, just not somewhere where you could be looked at as though this is not inappropriate. It is inappropriate behavior. Because the more people who are Virtus trained, the more people are aware of the inappropriate behavior.
It helped make things aware and to help me to see what could be possibly happening behind closed doors, on the playgrounds.
I was very surprised. I was very, glad that this program was happening.
After 37,000+ people taking this class, yes, I do believe that the children in the diocese are safer.
To date, the Diocese of Brooklyn has trained over 37,000 adults in over 1,500 Virtus sessions. Stay with us. There's much more currents ahead. Forget the rafts. One Louisiana town breaks out the rosary, hoping to pray the floodwaters away. We'll have the latest on that and the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up later, it's a special day for Haitians as they celebrate a symbol of national pride. But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. New York Archbishop Timothy Dolan put out a statement today ahead of the release of the report on clergy sex abuse from the John Jay College of Criminal Justice. In his statement, Dolan says the report was to the bishops and not from them. Now, that came in response to what Dolan says was criticism of the bishops for the report's results. He also outlined the steps that have been taken in the Archdiocese to combat sexual abuse. Dolan also offered an apology to anyone who may have been harmed by a priest or anyone acting in the name of the church. Well, in other news, one of the two men arrested in the plot to blow up a New York synagogue has been indicted on terrorism charges. A spokesman for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office says Ahmed Farani was charged with 2 counts of conspiracy, weapons possession, and attempted weapons possession. Farani and another man were arrested last week after a 7-month undercover operation. Well, meanwhile, reports say al-Qaeda has selected an acting replacement for Osama bin Laden. A source tells CNN that al-Qaeda has chosen Saif al-Adel, the man who has played a prominent role in the group. The source says the selection of al-Adel, who is Egyptian, may upset some al-Qaeda members who believe bin Laden's successor should come from the Arabian Peninsula. And you know, while bin Laden may be gone, he's certainly not forgotten. At least one Catholic parish in Florida will allow Mass to be offered for him. Parishioners at Holy Name of Jesus Parish in West Palm Beach were surprised to see bin Laden's name on the list of Mass intentions for this week. A Florida TV station reports the parish secretary thought it was a joke. The pastor says many parishioners are unhappy, but that the parish never turned down a Mass request. The pastor says many people are thinking emotionally about the evils bin Laden committed. The priest says, though, that Jesus tells us to love and forgive. Well, turning now to the Vatican, where Pope Benedict is urging Chinese bishops to remain loyal to the Holy See. The Pope's message during his weekly general audience came as the government-recognized Catholic Church in China, which is not in communion with Rome, was threatening to ordain 10 bishops without Vatican approval. The Pope also asked Catholics around the world to pray for the Church in China.
La Chiesa in Cina, soprattutto in questo momento, ha bisogno della preghiera della Chiesa universale. Invito in primo luogo tutti i cattolici cinesi a continuare e a intensificare la propria preghiera, soprattutto a Maria Vergine Forte, ma anche per tutti i cattolici del mondo. Pregare per la Chiesa che in Cina deve essere un impegno. Quei fedeli hanno diritto alla nostra preghiera, hanno bisogno della nostra preghiera.
Around 6 million people worship in the government-recognized Chinese Patriotic Catholic Association, with millions more believed to be part of the so-called underground Catholic Church loyal to the Vatican. Well, back in this country, U.S. bishops are commending the decision to extend temporary protected status, or TPS, to Haitians. Yesterday, the Department of Homeland Security announced TPS would be granted to Haitians who were in the U.S. on or before January 12th of this year, the 1-year anniversary of the deadly quake. The status will allow Haitians to live and work in the U.S. through January of 2013. In a statement, Archbishop Jose Gomez says it's simply the right thing to do. The bishops, though, also expressed concern about the resumption of deportations of Haitians with criminal records. Bishop Gerald Kakanis says it's troubling because it's happening at a time when Haiti is not equipped to handle the deportees. A new immigration law recently signed in Georgia has many people up in arms. The law gives police the power to check the immigration status of certain suspects. It also makes it a felony to give false information when applying for a job and penalizes people who knowingly transport illegal immigrants. And students at one high school walked out of class yesterday and took to the streets to protest the state's new immigration law. Mike Paluska has this report.
We're fighting for our rights.
My parents are really scared. They actually want to leave.
Pebblebrook High School students walked out of class to protest House Bill 87, a controversial new immigration law that these students say will ruin their futures.
Just because we look Hispanic, it falls against all of us that are Hispanic.
Stephanie Solis was born in the United States, but some of her classmates weren't. And with tougher laws, they are worried about what will happen next.
I'm not in high school, junior, 3.6 GPA, prominent student, trying to go to college, trying to, grasp that intangible dream and accomplish it, but now I'm faced with a bigger impediment.
The roadblock these undocumented students now face is House Bill 87, just signed into law by Governor Nathan Deal. Plus, their chances of getting a higher education are harder now, too. Last year, the Board of Regents voted to only allow undocumented students to apply for out-of-state tuition, and they created rules making it harder for them to get into 5 of Georgia's top colleges.
Now that I'm here, I realize that it's 3 times harder to go to college.
So that's why I'm here.
Governor Nathan Deal says illegal immigrants cost Georgia billions of dollars a year in lost revenue. A large chunk of that, he says, comes from undocumented students.
And to protect taxpayers' limited resources by taking an undue burden off of our schools, our hospitals, and our prison system.
That report from Mike Paluska. In an interview with Atlanta's Archdiocesan newspaper, Auxiliary Bishop Luis Zarama says the new law has already had a negative psychological effect on the community. Zarama says that he's met many people who were raised in the U.S. and have done well here, but have no path to legal citizenship. And residents in one Louisiana community are hoping to fight off floodwaters with prayer. Christy Davis has that story.
It's a simple daily pilgrimage with supernatural expectations.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. And used to say, Sainte Vierge Marie, protégez nous, Holy Virgin, Mary, protect us. And they've always had confidence that she would protect Pierrepont.
As the patron saint of the Acadian people, the Virgin Mary stood through the 1880 storm that destroyed much of the area. In the Great Flood of 1927, when the church went under, she didn't. And in 1940, when a tornado devastated the town, Mary and the area around her were barely touched.
You can't explain it. You can't explain it. It's a feeling that you feel right here. And this community has always had Mary, and she's always had us.
Understandably, the community decided to place her on an island in the bayou where she's not only a symbol of protection, but a literal gauge of how high the water has risen.
And the saying at that time was, as long as the Virgin's feet are dry, we're safe here.
Of course, if that statue goes underwater, Pierrepont will be in serious trouble.
The newly renovated statue recently made her debut back on the island 2 weeks ago.
But she's back home and at the right time, because we need her intercession. Hail Mary, full of grace.
For more than a week, the congregation faithfully recites the rosary.
Blessed art thou among women. And
asking for intercession in more places than just Pierrepont.
And for all the people downstream who may be impacted by this storm, and for all those who have already suffered upstream from this flood.
Stay with us, there's much more currents ahead. Coming up, it's Flag Day. No, we're not getting ahead of ourselves. It's Haitian Flag Day, and we'll take you to a massive celebration in Brooklyn.
And people get a sense of belonging. They are all Haitians, they are together.
Well, finally tonight, I'd like to wish a Bonne Fête Drapeau, or Happy Flag Day, to all of our Haitian and Haitian by association viewers. The island nation was back in the headlines this weekend following the recent inauguration of pop star turned politician Michel Martelly, the country's 56th president. Martelly took on the task of presidency in front of the still collapsed National Palace, a reminder of the devastation from the earthquake that rocked Haiti over 1 year ago. But the scars of the recent past and the challenges that have surfaced in its wake, like the cholera scare, have done little to dampen Haitian people's love of their country or their flag. And at St. Mary Star of the Sea Parish in Far Rockaway, Queens, Haitians came together to celebrate the Mass and also this very special day in their homeland.
Jeudi, c'est 15 mai, dans 3 jours comme ça, c'est va 18 mai, et nous songeons, drapeau, nous, c'est fête drapeau, et nous songeons, nous avons songé, devise, nous, c'est l'union fait la force.
It's one of the most important days or feasts for Haiti. There is Independence Day, January 1st, and Haitian Flag Day, May 18th. And we realize, I and the Haitian community here, that it will be, it's very convenient for us to have this Mass today around May 18th. Haiti, we had the flag before our independence. The country was colony, French colony. And the French flag was blue, white, and red. And the Haitians conquered their independence. So they ripped off the white from the French flag, and now we have the blue and the red. The red and the blue would signify the union of the black and the mulatto. The sentence is the motto, l'union fait la force, is the together, united, we stand. United, we stand.
C'est comme ça, bon Dieu, grand maître là, il veut nous vivre, tant qu'on petit li, tant qu'on frère et sœur, côté youn a aider l'autre, côté youn a soutenir l'autre dans mauvais pas la vie, côté youn a encourager l'autre, côté youn a manifester remè li dans cœur pour l'autre là.
I try to bring all the Haitians together, and people get a sense of belonging. They are all Haitians. They are together. That's very important to them to be able to be with other Haitians to celebrate outside the country.
I'm proud of the Haitian flag, and I'm proud of the Haitian people. I'm proud of my people because I'm Haitian, and I'm always happy to be part of whatever is going on in our community.
Nous voyons que vraiment qu'on est là dans toute bagaille nous qui passé dans tremblement de terre et maladie ça qui sont passé là, nous voyons vraiment que nous besoin changement dans cœur nous pour nous vraiment gagner l'union dans la tête nous.
On continue songer devise nous, l'union fait la force. On continue songer proverbe qui a aidé nous vivre tout bon vrai comme chrétien, vivre tout bon vrai comme catholique, et c'est comme ça non seulement n'a formé famille qui jambe, n'a formé communauté qui jambe, n'a formé un pays qui jambe tout. Amen. Amen.
Strength through unity, you know, that's a great sentiment in these times, especially for Haiti. And it's not only a sentiment, it's really how we should all be living, strength through unity. We should unify to help Haitian people, all of us who aren't from Haiti, myself included, and we should just rally around them and be with them during this very difficult time in their homeland. And of course, there is all the news about TPS and everything today. So it's been a very big day for Haitians, not only because of Flag Day, but for some actual good news for Haitian people who are here in the U.S. as well. Well, that is it for this edition of the show. But be sure and join us tomorrow. We're going to continue our reporting on the results of the landmark John Jay study and look at what the Diocese of Brooklyn is doing to combat clergy sexual abuse. And we have much more about the John Jay Report on our website, including a statement from the Diocese of Brooklyn. Just go to currentsny.net, click on Riding the Wave to find that. Well, for all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.